TheJbeans.net.
Grand Turk is known for being one of the easiest beach days in cruising. However, during our most recent visit, we noticed the return of a confusing situation that caused many guests to think they had to pay for a beach chair. Although complimentary loungers were still provided inside the Grand Turk Cruise Center, many guests were led to believe payment was required and never realized complimentary options were available. In this video, we'll explain what was going on, why the confusion has returned, and how to make sure you don't pay for something that's already included with your cruise visit to Grand Turk. Just a quick note that if you enjoy this video, please give us a thumbs up or leave a comment. It really helps our channel. And consider subscribing so you get alerted when we add new videos. When we first started visiting Grand Turk years ago, complimentary loungers were provided inside the cruise center. But local vendors created confusion by approaching guests at the beach entrances and asking if they wanted a beach chair or an umbrella. Many visitors assumed that meant payment was required, even though there were signs indicating the clamshells, beach chairs, and umbrellas were free. A few years later, we returned to Grand Turk following the COVID shutdown, and the cruise center had made several changes. First, the loungers were moved farther back off the beach, which noticeably opened up the shoreline. Second, umbrellas were no longer available, and the clamshells were only available through the cruise center's beach rentals hut. Third, the cruise center's complimentary loungers were clearly separated from the ones being offered by local vendors. Finally, the local vendors were not allowed to sell inside the cruise center area, and that seemed to completely eliminate the confusion we saw during our earlier visits. During our most recent cruise aboard the Holland America Koningsdam in December 2025, we visited Grand Turk twice, and both times we found the local vendors once again creating confusion for unsuspecting guests. As we made our way to the popular North Side Beach, we once again found local vendors positioned near the beach's main entry points. As cruise passengers approached the beach, we heard the vendors calling out and asking if they wanted a beach chair or umbrella. For guests who were unfamiliar with the complimentary options at Grand Turk, it was very easy to assume that renting from the local vendors was the only way to get a chair. What made the situation even more confusing was that several of the local vendors were positioned right next to the cruise center's beach rentals hut. From a guest's point of view, it could easily look like they were part of the cruise center operation, even though they were not. We also paid close attention to how questions about chairs were answered by the local vendors. In talking with one of them, what we encountered wasn't outright lying, but highly selective and misleading information. When we asked about the complimentary cruise center loungers several times, we were repeatedly redirected toward paid options. And they wouldn't acknowledge that the nearby cruise center loungers were complimentary until we asked several very specific follow-up questions, which is not something most guests can be expected to do. To be clear, the Grand Turk Cruise Center offers many complimentary loungers located along the beach area. The complimentary brown-colored loungers have the Grand Turk Cruise Center logo printed on them, and most of them are located in spots that are shaded by palm trees. The blue loungers with a clamshell shade are not complimentary and are available for rent through the cruise center's beach rentals hut. Unfortunately, it wasn't just the local vendors creating confusion. The cruise center's signage also wasn't as clear as it could have been. The signs that clearly indicate free beach chairs were placed on the lounger's side of the rope fencing. For guests who followed the most common path from the pier straight to the beach, they never actually saw those signs. Instead, from the beach side, guests saw signs that indicated a visitor pass was required for entry. That wording was meant to indicate that the area was reserved for cruise passengers. However, in practice, the signs made it sound like payment was required for entry. And that reinforced the message that guests were hearing from the local vendors at the beach entrance. The result was something we saw repeatedly throughout the day during both visits. Guests would hesitate at the edge of the beach, look around, and then either ask about paid chairs or simply spread towels on the sand. Many people never made it to the cruise center loungers at all, even though plenty of them were available. Every time we explained that the loungers inside the cruise center were complimentary, people were genuinely surprised. So the next time you visit Grand Turk, just remember to look for the brown-colored loungers with the Grand Turk Cruise Center logo in the free beach chairs area. If you see an open chair, simply place your belongings down and use it free of charge. And if a local vendor approaches you and offers a chair or an umbrella, just know they're selling loungers that are located farther down the shoreline, beyond the cruise center area. It's completely fine if guests want to use that option, but it should be an informed choice, not the result of purposeful confusion and misdirection. If you visited Grand Turk recently and noticed the same situation, please let us know in the comments.